Okay, so for the homework today, I'm just going to say a few words about terms and connectors searching. So remember, if you're on Westlaw, Lexis, any service, you can find something that tells you how to run an advanced search. So you can click on advanced. And so on Westlaw, you could call a terms and connectors search an advanced search, a Boolean search. It all just means the same thing. And somewhere there is a list of connectors, and so then you can be reminded what they are. Okay, so in preparation for week 2, you went through a lot of specifics on the various connectors and such. But just as a reminder that most searches can be relatively simple. A lot of times you're just looking for some sort of term, fairly close to some other sort of term, fairly close to some other sort of term, and it could be term or phrase. And so if you're using Westlaw, just keep in mind that you need to type your nouns in the singular form, because if you type it in the plural form, you will only retrieve the plural form. Be sure to truncate your verbs or adverbs, anything that can be truncated, such as bite, so you'll retrieve bit, bite, bites, biting, bitten, that sort of thing, as well as a lot of other words that start with BIT. And then also, you want to use some connectors between your keywords. And so I should probably edit this to say proximity connectors, because and is generally too broad to be useful, because if you were to type in police and dog and bite, then that would retrieve documents that have police and dog and bite just anywhere in the document. Generally, when a judge is writing an opinion, they would, let's say the case is about a dog bite, a police dog biting somebody, usually it would have to be like, the judge would type in something like, the police and the dog were running down the street and the dog bit the suspect, or something like that. So it would be within the same sentence, within the same 15 words, within the same 25 words, 35 words, paragraph, something like that. So you just want to use proximity connectors instead of ands in many cases. Okay, so this is your basic search structure here. Some word within fairly close proximity to some other word within fairly close proximity to some other word. And then, as we discussed, there are many different ways to say the same thing, like police. That's a concept that can be expressed in many different ways. You could call it law enforcement. You could call it police, DEA, just officer, that sort of thing. So to make your, I wouldn't say it makes your basic search structure more complicated, but a bit more complicated, you can use alternatives for your term. So instead of police, just police, you could have police or officer or law enforcement, or just as many alternatives as you wanted, and then have that within fairly close proximity to your next term, and have that within fairly close proximity to your next term, being sure, if you're using Westlaw, to always truncate anything that has different forms and type your nouns in singular format. Okay, so just as an example here, let's say we're going to go into Ninth Circuit federal cases. And then, let's say, for example, we're interested in asylum cases involving some sort of forced sterilization, abortion, that sort of thing, and the spouse or husband or of the person who is, being forcibly sterilized, forced on birth control, forced abortion, that sort of thing. Okay, so just keeping it simple with our, one term within one keyword within so many of another keyword within another keyword. So asylum within, let's say, 100 of sterilize, and we want to truncate that to make sure we get sterilized, sterilizing, sterilization, and then something about, let's go within sentence, of husband. Okay, So we can see what we get with this. Okay, so we get 24 cases. Then we think to ourselves, well, is there any other way to say asylum? Not really. That is a term of art that it's pretty much always called an asylum. You can be a refugee, but when they're talking about like the legal remedy, it's asylum. So then sterilize, that can be other things. Could be some sort of forced abortion or birth control. Then husband or boyfriend or spouse or partner. Okay, so we get 87 cases, and so let's just kind of look here and see what we're getting. Spouses of individuals who have been forcibly sterilized.
Oh my gosh, it is so annoying when you misspell something and don't notice.
Okay, they're both going to be sterilized there. Spouse who's forced abortion. So you just kind of you go down, and then if you see any other alternative terms, you can include those. I think before I saw something about an IUD, so we'll put in, and let's see, before we start typing in, okay, we got 86. For IUD. If it's an acronym, you want to put periods between it, because then it will pick up it'll pick it up whether it has periods between it, spaces between it, or if it's just all one word. And I guess that's some sort of intrauterine. We don't have to write the whole thing out. Let me just see if I spelled that right. Okay, so, and really just kind of as you go, you just, and no, I did not spell it right. Okay, good to know. All right, we'll put that in there. See if that retrieves any more. Might not, because perhaps one of the other words came up within that proximity, and of course I left the N. Okay, all right, we got a few more. Put the I in there. Okay. All right. So then, as you're just looking through them, you can just work on any of it. You can say, "Oh, I'm getting some mishits. Let me make this closer together within 10." And so you can see if that makes it more or less relevant. So sometimes asylum might not be within 100 words. So you don't generally want to use and a whole lot, but this could be a situation where you might be excluding some relevant documents. So what I'm going to do is just cut and paste the whole search. So I will have it. And then, so right now we have, let's say 66 cases here. If we change that to and, let's see if the number goes up. That would just mean that asylum was contained somewhere in the case, but it wasn't within 100 words. Okay, yeah, so apparently asylum doesn't have to be within 100 words. And then you just look at your results again here. Okay, then another quick example. Let's say you are looking for things about moral turpitude. So that's a phrase, moral turpitude. Within a sentence, and then we'll just put DUI, which is one way to say drunk driving. Okay, so we have 18, and then we could type in the CIMT. We don't have to keep running this, but just for fun. And let's see if that moves us up. Okay, we get one additional case. And then we have to think of other ways to say drunk driving. So there's driving while intoxicated. See how many more we get. Same amount. Then we like drunk, like maybe drunkenness, drink, or just drive, because a lot of crimes that come up do involve like alcohol. So let's see how many we get here. Okay, so we have 4 alternatives. 29 for drive. Alright, so that jumped up a lot. Maybe intoxicated. And then as you look at the cases, you might come up with some other things, and then you're like, maybe within sentence is too close together. Maybe we need within paragraph. So then we go from 71 to a lot more. So, and this could be too broad as you get down to other cases. They're not relevant, but you just don't know until you look. You're like, oh, paragraph is too much. Let me try within 30. So your number just keeps changing based on, the terms that you choose. Okay, then if you're interested in something else specific, you could always add that into the search, like what if they had other things going on, like no license or an expired license. So you can just add in whatever you wish there. Someone didn't have a valid license. That person, whether they needed to know they were suspended. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions about this or anything else.